Are you serious? Are you serious? Let me just tell you right now, I've been working for 4 hours on tomorrow's sermon that I'll be preaching at Freedom Fellowship under the big tent. And my computer just ate the entire sermon. Just ate all the notes. They're gone. Never saved them. Just ate them. All right, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me put out a shout right now for noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com over at pastorpaulgold.com. Call them at 877-646-5347. Gold has surged 46% in the last year, and that's doubled the gains of NASDAQ or the S&P 500. But this isn't just another rally, because global reserves are shifting, exposing the cracks in the monetary system. Investors are losing confidence in paper gold and demanding the physical metal itself, creating a massive gap between gold that's owned, and gold that is available. That's huge. So you're selling something you don't have? Is that what you're saying? But anyway, this isn't about institutions going broke or another system breaking down. This is about how you could probably and will profit from this. Right now, Noble Gold Investments have a limited supply of investment gold bars or gold coins. They actually have them. You can buy them, and they'll ship them to you. As banks scramble to try to fulfill their obligations, pushing gold prices higher, you can capitalize on it if you order right now. Simply do this. Go to pastorpaulgold.com. That's www.pastorpaulgold.com, or call him on the phone at 877-646-5347. Let Colin Plume and his staff help you capitalize right now. Are you serious? Guys, we got breaking news going on in both the Middle East and in Europe. And really, this is prophecy unfolding right before our very eyes. It really, really is. Guys, you can get your tickets also for Alien Encounters. Yesterday, we recorded for 4 hours. It's incredible. We recorded, I think 13. I can't remember how many different people. Alien encounters and situations, some of it demonic, some of it alien, some of it angelic. I mean, this was incredible. Some videotape with it, pictures, incredible. And we want you to don't miss. Plus the great speakers like L.A. Marzulli and Rex Bear and Laura Eisenhower. And I can't remember who all we got. And Mike from the World, myself, and others. These 12 actual eyewitness accounts are incredible. If that's all we did was these, it would be worth getting your tickets. So go right now to my website. You can go to the website. It's right there on the front page. Just go to paulbegleyprophecy.com. Go to paulbegleyprophecy.org. Go to paulbegleyprophecy.com and order your ticket right now, because the webinar is less than 2 weeks away. It is Friday night, March 21st. We'll be sending your links out exactly at 6 p.m. on Friday night, March 21st. Boom, you're going to get your link and you'll be able to watch it. Easy link. Get your tickets today. All right, let me tell you what's happening, because it's getting crazy. First of all, 4 hours of work of preparing a sermon for tomorrow. My computer ate it all my notes, ate them. Okay. Good news is I know the Bible and I know the scriptures, and I can preach it probably without the notes, but it'd sure be easier to have them. But that's another problem. I'll work on that after we get done here. Let's get to the current events right now, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Ukraine-Russia war. Then we got two different breaking news situations happening simultaneously. First of all, President Zelensky says that Ukraine is fully committed to peace talks. Donald Trump said that Russia airstrikes on Ukraine were what everybody would do hours before Moscow then went out and killed 14 Ukrainians and wounded 37 more in the latest aerial assault. Trump was ready to talk peace. He is ready to talk peace. So is Zelensky. But Putin is continuing to keep the hammer down. This is critical, okay? I mean, really, it's critical. Ukraine is fully committed to constructive dialogue with the United States representatives in Saudi Arabia next week, and they hope and they agree to the next steps. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said, Ukraine has been seeking peace from very first second of this war. He said, realistic proposals are on the table. The key is now to move quickly and effectively and end this war. On our side, we are fully committed to constructive dialogue, and we hope to discuss and agree on the necessary decisions and steps. Zelensky said he would visit Saudi Arabia next week after he meets with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday. Ukrainian diplomatic and military representatives would stay for another meeting the following day with the U.S. team. The U.S. representatives have already held 2 sets of talks with the Russian counterparts, and the first of which they held in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Russia went ahead and launched a deadly missile attack and a deadly drone attack, killing 14 and wounding 37 others in the capital of Kiev. Russian troops have launched a large-scale offensive to retake swaths of western Kursk region from the Ukrainian forces as the war continues to rage on. Despite the conversations for peace, there is no ceasefire yet been established. There is going to be peace talks next week in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Russia continues to keep the pressure on. And this is it's disturbing, to be honest. But now UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer says that a number of his British followers think that Sir Keir Starmer is doing a good job and that he's trying to play a role in diplomacy over the war in Ukraine, along with Emmanuel Macron and Donald Trump. So somehow, some way, these guys are trying to stay as positive as they can about putting together a peace arrangement. Meanwhile, Trump is saying Zelensky needs to sign the deal for the metals so that the United States can move on. Ukraine says they are fully committed to dialogue with the United States and with the Saudi Arabians to discuss how to bring about an end to the war. Okay, so this is all happening now, guys. Now it's the fog of war, because even in the fog of war, the fog of peace is hard to find. Now, meanwhile, let me tell you what's happened. President Trump has announced that he just sent a letter to Iran, to the Iranian leader, to negotiate a nuclear deal. So Trump is working every angle. He's on one hand, he's pulling together the Russians and the Ukrainians. They're going to hold it in Saudi Arabia. He's working on a peace deal to try to end the war in Europe. Meanwhile, he has told Hamas they better release these hostages or they'll have hell to pay, while the Israelis have just deployed 50,000 new troops and are headed toward the border with Gaza and are calling up another 400,000 reservists to get them ready in case they need to do an all-out assault on the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, President Trump has picked up and sent up a letter to the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei that he's willing to negotiate a nuclear deal with him. According to reports out of Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump said he wants to negotiate a nuclear deal with Iran and sent a letter to its leadership this week suggesting that talks with the Islamic Republic of Iran, which the West fears is rapidly nearing the capability to have the ability to make an atomic weapon. He, quote, I said, I hope you're going to negotiate because it's going to be a lot better for Iran if you do, Trump said in an interview with Fox Business Network broadcast. Iran has not yet received the letter, but Iran's mission to the United Nations in New York said there is no immediate response from the foreign ministry in Iran, where it is this weekend, but they still, as of right now, had not received the letter. So apparently Trump is sending it by way of an ambassador or negotiator, and is going to personally hand it to the Ayatollah Khomeini. It's a handwritten letter from President Trump. Trump told reporters at the White House that he anticipated movement on this issue very soon. We're going down to the final strokes with Iran. It's going to be a very interesting time, and we'll see what happens. But we're down to the final moments. The final moments. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon, he said. Cannot let them have a weapon, he said from the Oval Office. We have a situation with Iran that something's going to happen very soon. Hopefully, we can have a peace deal. You know, I'm not speaking out of strength or weaknesses. I'm just saying, I'd rather see a peace deal with Iran than the other. And the other will solve the problem. Now, Iran's Now News, affiliated with the country's top security body, has dismissed Trump's letter as a repetitive show by Washington. Asked in Fox Business interview whether he had sent the letter to the Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, Iran's fiercely anti-Western supreme leader, Trump said, yes, there are two ways Iran can handle this. We can do it militarily, or we can make a deal. Trump said, I would prefer to make a deal because I'm not looking to hurt Iran. They're great people. But, he said, in the interview, Trump said he did send the letter yesterday, indicating that he sent it out Wednesday, but it was going to be hand-delivered. Now, Western officials fear that the nuclear-armed Iran could threaten Israel or the Gulf Arab oil producers like Saudi Arabia and could spark a regional arms race. Iran denies seeking nuclear weapons, but Trump may be seeking a diplomatic opening to take advantage of what U.S. officials see as a weakened position of Iran. Iran-backed groups in the Middle East, the Palestinian Hamas militants in Gaza, and the Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon have been heavily degraded and by the Israeli forces, and also Syria's Bashar al-Assad, who was closely aligned to Iran, has been overthrown by the rebels in Syria. Iranian officials have denied any loss of regional influence. Last year, Israel strikes on Iranian facilities, including missile factories and air defenses, in retaliation for Iranian missile and drone attacks, reduced Iran's conventional military capabilities, according to the U.S. officials outside and inside experts. Now, Trump has upended the U.S. foreign policy after taking office in January, adopting a more conciliatory, more negotiated, peaceful stance toward Russia that has left some of his Western allies a little leery of him and trying to be the broker to end the Moscow 3-year war end in Ukraine. But Trump has pulled out and said, look, the Russians and the Ukrainians are coming to the table. As America's had 2 meetings with the Russians and has had several meetings with the Ukrainians. And now the Russians have been to Saudi Arabia, and now the Ukrainians are going to Saudi Arabia this week. Trump says the maximum pressure campaign that we're going to put on Iran will include to drive its oil exports down to zero. However, I don't want to do that. I would rather make a deal. It's unclear, though, if Trump would overture to Iran would also receive by U.S. ally Israel, an arch foe of Iran, and Israel has mounted military strikes on each of Iran, both in April and in October of 2024, after Iran had fired missiles at Israel. The Israeli prime minister, though, is not immediately returned any request or comment on Trump's letter to Iran. Netanyahu is not speaking a word about Trump's reaching out to the Iranians in trying to end Iran's nuclear ambitions. The Russian deputy foreign minister, Sergei Ryabkov, has discussed international efforts to resolve the situation around Iran's nuclear program with Iranian ambassador Kazim Jahali. The Russian foreign ministry said Meanwhile, senior Russian missile specialists have visited Iran over the past year as the Islamic Republic has deepened its defense cooperation with Moscow and also Turkey. So you know the Russians, the Turks, the Iranians, those three are already in some type of an alliance. Throw in the Chinese and throw in the North Koreans, and you have this axis of evil coalition. Meanwhile, Trump is saying it's time to end the Russian-Ukraine war. It's time the hostages are released and end the conflict with Israel and Hamas. And it's time that Iran lay down their weapons of mass destruction and their ambitions to try to have a nuclear weapon in Iran. And then North Korea has been testing missiles that could carry nuclear payloads. And meanwhile, the Chinese have been circling Taiwan, flying into their airspace with planes, or entering into their waters with ships, or building blockades, or shooting off military weapons in drills off the coast not far from Taiwan. And also the Chinese have been doing it not far off the coast of Australia or off the coast of New Zealand. So the world is like a ticking time bomb. It's like a ticking time bomb. And so you start to look at this beast kingdom, and you start to look at the wars and the rumors of wars, and the nations rising against nation, and kingdoms against kingdoms. And you see the blood moon next week. I don't think I've ever seen a blood moon moment where we've had blood moons in the past 10 years. We had in 2014 and 2015, we had the 4 blood moon tetrad. But the world condition at that time was nothing close to what it is right now. This coming March 13th and 14th blood moon is during the Ides of March. It's during Purim. It's during Ramadan. It's during a war raging between Russia and Ukraine, and it's during a war raging between Israel and Gaza. But really, it's Israel against Hamas of Gaza, Hezbollah of Lebanon, the Houthis of Yemen, and the Iranians ultimately. And so we've not been here before. And then you have the Chinese circling Taiwan. You have North Korea testing ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles that could hold nuclear payloads and coming up with new weapons. You have President Trump in the White House is trying to end both the war in the Middle East and the war in Europe. But let's face it, Trump is not, he doesn't play around. He's a very polarizing individual. He's tired of watching the wars rage on and people dying everywhere. He's the kind of guy that make a deal, get it done. Let's stop the foolishness. Let's stop the killing. And he has a divided nation, as you just saw in his joint session of Congress. It was a disaster watching the Democrats sit there and divide this country. So we're in a dark place right now. We're in a really, 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 really dark place from a prophetic standpoint. We're in a dangerous place. Wars and rumors of wars. Nations rising against nations. Kingdoms against kingdoms. And we have a divided nation. We have a swamp full of creatures and criminals and crime and syndicates and gangsters. Literally, we have the Washington gangsters. We have criminal cartels running around. And we are in a state of chaos. The world is in trouble. And the abominations and the human trafficking and the sex slavery and the spiritual wickedness in high places, and the drug trafficking and the cartels and the murdering, the madness and the mayhem, the meanness and the maliciousness and the madness and the Muslim. It's just terrible. And I'm telling you, we're in the end times. I'm telling you, we're in the last days. And maybe it's because I've been studying my sermon tomorrow. And I've been studying prophecy, and I've been studying on, all the different things that are happening today. And there's so many positive things. There's so many negative things. There's so many good things. There's so many bad things. There's so many great things. There's so many awful things. And then when you take a look at all of that in one big nutshell, and you say to yourself, we're in the last days. Are you serious? Something biblical's going on with the signs of the second coming of Christ. It really is, guys. It really, really is. And there's only one option here. There is absolutely only one option. I'll tell you that right now. Wow, this thing is crazy. What's going on? I think Jesus is what I'm trying to say. So, okay, let's see if we got this right. The war's raging. Russia's just killed a bunch of people in the capital of Kiev, Ukraine, while Ukraine is headed to Saudi Arabia to talk peace, to try to talk a peace deal with Russia. Israel is sending troops to the Gaza Strip while Trump is trying to end the war between Israel and Hamas. They're fighting in Europe while Trump is trying to end the war in Europe. Trump is sending a letter. He has already sent a handwritten letter to the Ayatollah Khomeini saying, look, you're not going to get to have a nuclear weapon. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. I'd rather make a deal with you, but we can use military option if that's where you want to go. And China circling the wagons in Taiwan. And North Korea's got a crazy madman pushing the buttons going boom, 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 Kim Jong-un, and now his sister's involved. What? We're in trouble, folks. Are you saved? We need Jesus like never before. I remember the night I first gave my life to Jesus. I was lost and all alone and so undone. There were pieces of me here, pieces of me there, and I was so broken. Then I asked Jesus, can you put me back together again? And I know where I was then. I know where I am now. You came to me and you saved me and turned my life around. And I know where I was then, Lord, and I know where I am now. You know, this walk in life, it's full of many decisions. And we live with each and every one we make. But the best decision I ever made was when I asked the Lord, can you come and heal this broken man that I am? And I know where I was then. I know where I am now. You came to me and you saved me
turned my life around, and I know where I was then, Lord,
and I know where I am now.
and I know where I was then.
I know where I am now.
You came to me and you saved me.
You turned my life around, and I
know where I was then, Lord,
and I know where I am now.
I know where I was then, Lord, and I know where I am now.
I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. We're truly living in the last days.